Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. It is a blustery January day as I record this, but I am thinking about seeds, and so should you if you want to plant any this year. So first of all, why seeds and not garden starts? One reason is cost. It's pretty expensive if you have a garden of any size to go and buy starts or seedlings. Even if you're buying them, say, from a local gardener, it adds up. Seeds are usually less expensive. Another reason is you can get better variety when you're buying your seeds. The first thing that you really need to know is your USDA gardening better, and that's something you can look up online. So let's say you're looking at the seed catalog. What are the things you have to consider? University extension office should have that information as well. So if you live in Oklahoma, you can type Oklahoma University Extension and find one that's close to you, and they'll have a map. Or you can just call them and they'll give you that information as well. When you are looking at seeds, whether it's in a store or in a catalog online or a paper catalog, that is probably your first consideration. If you try to buy seeds that aren't going to grow well in your gardening zone, you're not going to have very much success. Unless you happen to be growing maybe in a greenhouse, or you're an excellent gardener with plenty of skills dealing with difficult plants, in which case you're probably not watching this video. So generally speaking though, that is the first thing you look at. The next thing that you look at, and this is something a lot of people don't realize, is you want to find plants or seeds that grow well in your region. So if you live in Middle America, you have it easier than a lot of us, because a lot of the big name suppliers that you might find at Walmart or Home Depot or whatever, they tend to be based in Middle America. Their seeds come from that part of the United States, and likely the seeds they sell will work fine for you. However, if you live in the north, in the south, or you're in a maritime climate, or you have any kind of a shorter season, you really want to seek out seeds that are going to do well in your region. So how do you do that? My suggestion is simply to go online and do a search. For example, you might do maritime climate seeds, or seeds for the south, or seeds for short growing seasons, things like that. And you will find there are a number of reputable companies that specialize in seeds for your area. Beyond that, let's talk about, first of all, what type of seed. And I don't mean tomato versus cucumber. I mean heirloom, open-pollinated, hybrid, GMO. There are a lot of things that get thrown out there and not everybody understands them. So first, let's talk about open-pollinated. If you want to save your seeds and have the resulting baby plants be like the parent plants, then you need an open-pollinated variety. That's all that means. It means that if you collect seeds from that plant and you save them and you plant them and the new plants grow, they're going to be like the parent plant. Heirloom seeds are all open-pollinated, but not all open-pollinated seeds have the heirloom label. Heirloom means different things to different people, but basically it just means that variety has been around a while. A while is very general. So heirloom isn't necessarily better, but open-pollinated, if you want to collect seeds, is a must. Hybrid seeds are not like that. Hybrid seeds, if you collect seeds from them and plant them, they won't be like the parent plant. Because a hybrid is when you take two plants and they make babies together, right? And so their babies tend to have instead of being exactly like that original hybrid plant that has qualities from both of its parent plants, instead your new baby plants go and mimic whatever the grandparent plants were. Does that make sense? So the seeds are from a hybrid plant, won't be like the parent, they'll be like one of the grandparents. And that can mean that they aren't as vigorous, they're not as disease resistant, they might be, in some cases, really radically different. So while you usually can save those seeds and they'll be fertile, they won't be like the parent plant, which is usually not what you're after. Now, let's remember that hybrid seeds are different from GMO seeds. Hybrids have been around forever, literally forever. Hybrids can occur in nature. The birds, the bees, the wind, all can make a hybrid plant. However, a GMO is something new and it can only be created in a laboratory. It could never happen in nature. And sometimes the sort of ingredients that go into a GMO seed aren't even plant life. So a lot of people want to avoid GMOs and GMO seeds, but here's the thing. As a home gardener, not a commercial farmer, you don't have to really worry about it. We don't have GMO seeds available to us. You have to buy bulk, huge amounts of seeds in order to buy rather expensive GMO seeds. There is an issue with corn. If you live somewhere near a commercial farmer growing GMO corn, there is a possibility that the wind or birds or whatever will make a cross with your non-GMO corn. And so then you may end up with seed, if you collect it from your corn, that isn't truly open-pollinated and has some GMO qualities to it. There is only one seed company that I am aware of that tests to make sure that their seeds are pure and not contaminated with GMOs, and that is Baker Creek. So if that is a concern for you, that's a great place to shop. Now, what about organic? Organic means that the seeds were grown in an organic way and that they don't have chemicals sprayed on them to prevent, disease, etc., that are non-organic. Again, if that's important to you, look for organic seeds. They tend to be more expensive and you are less able to find the wide selection of variety as if that didn't matter to you. When you are looking at a seed catalog or whatever, a seed packet perhaps, in addition to finding out whether the seeds grow well in your region and your USDA zone, you want to look at the growing requirements. They should be on the seed packet or in the catalog. For example, we generally know that tomatoes love the sun and lettuce can tolerate shadier conditions. But you may find that there's a certain variety of tomato that doesn't mind a little bit of shade, or a lettuce plant, a lettuce variety that won't bolt or go to seed if it gets a little more sun. So that is something to pay attention to, especially if you're living in the suburbs or an urban area and you have limited growing space and you want to make the best use of what you have. And most of us usually have, it seems like, more shade than sun. That can be a helpful thing to look at. Another thing I really want you to look at is the days to maturity. It drives me nuts when seed suppliers do not provide the days to maturity. So I'm just going to show you a seed packet. I hope you can read it, but right here, these are Brussels sprouts. It says 80 days. And what that means is from the time you plant the seed to the time you harvest, in this case, Brussels sprouts, it is 80 days approximately. Obviously, there can be reasons it takes longer. For example, if the weather is cool or depending if your soil isn't, great, all those things can slow seeds down. But this is a general idea of how long that seed takes to mature. The reason this is important is you can get more from seeds that take a shorter amount of time to get mature. So Brussels sprouts are a really good example because a lot of Brussels sprouts take 100 days or more to really mature. If you live in a short season, that's not going to work for you at all, right? But even if you live where that's okay, you have a long, warm growing season, think about this. If you have a Brussels sprout that matures in only 80 days, you can harvest those Brussels sprouts and then plant something new. Maybe more Brussels sprouts or maybe some other vegetable. Now, in a general way, how do you figure out what you want to grow, especially if your space is limited or if you just don't have a lot of experience and you don't want a huge garden right away. If you're fairly new to gardening, I always recommend starting small and then expanding, because a big garden can get really overwhelming for anybody, let alone somebody who's just starting out and you're trying to figure out what your soil is like and how you're going to deal with weeds. Oh my goodness, weeds. The first garden I had after I got married, the weeds completely took it over and I got so overwhelmed, I just kind of let the garden go. So you want to avoid that. So I like to look at, first and foremost, what are the things that we eat the most of? And really think about that, because I find in my household, I might say, oh, we eat a lot of green beans, but if I really think about it, the thing I would buy most at the store probably would be onions, garlic, and bell peppers, because those are the basis of so many recipes. So it depends on how you eat, and if your vegetables that you use the most are different, fine, that's great. You want to find out what works for you. So think about when you're at the grocery store, what am I buying the most of, and is it something that I could grow? Next, think about what you would grow if it wasn't so expensive or it was more readily available. And does it grow in your area? If it does, oh yay, you're in great luck. Another thing I like to think about is most years I have my staples. I usually grow Brussels sprouts and green beans. I love provider beans. They grow really well for me. Cabbage. Cauliflower is something I'm learning to grow. Collards are one of my favorites. Easy to grow. They do so well in cool weather. They're a great fall and winter crop. Carrots. Radishes, I usually grow a few types of those. I like kohlrabi. We don't eat it as much as some other things, but it's a nice variation on cold weather crops. Zucchini, some winter squashes, turnips. I usually do some kale, cucumbers, because my husband has to have his pickles, broccoli, beets. And then of course tomatoes, some different types. This year I got a sauce tomato for the first time, and that's some summer squash. So those are kind of my basics for where I live and how I eat. Trying to think if there's anything in there there's probably some other things that I've saved on my own. I am gradually, we've only been on our homestead for, well, it'll be 4 summers this summer. So I'm still kind of figuring out this climate. It's a weird climate to me, and what grows well here. So I do save seeds as well, and I'm sure some things I'm forgetting that are in my stash of seeds in the refrigerator. But I like to also have some fun seeds, something different that I've never grown maybe, or maybe it's a different variety that's kind of fun. An example might be, a black tomato or a purple cauliflower, or maybe I might try growing eggplant, even though typically it doesn't grow very well where I live, but maybe I find a variety I think I'd like to try. It's always good to have at least one, if you're starting out, probably no more than one variety that you're trying. And if you have grown from seed before and you weren't thrilled with the variety that you had, let's say it wasn't as disease or pest resistant as you liked, or it wasn't as abundant as you liked, or there are a million different things that we look for, right? And maybe we didn't like the flavor, whatever. I encourage you then the next year to try at least one different variety of that same type of vegetable until you find just the thing for you. I think all gardeners are always trying to tweak what they grow, but some things become real staples. And so don't be afraid to experiment a little bit, even thinking outside the box a little bit. I hope this has helped you. I'm planning on doing a video on how to store seeds and also how to test germination. So if you've had a packet of seeds that has been laying around for a while, I'm gonna teach you how to find out whether those seeds are still good without, planting them in the garden and then hoping and praying they come up. If you have any questions at all, or there are other topics you'd like me to cover in these videos, please let me know. And as always, please like, share, comment. I really appreciate that, and it helps me out a lot. Have a great day. Bye.